So the first thing that you need to do in IELTS, of course, is to understand the task. What kind of essay do you need to write? Do you have to write an opinion essay, agree, disagree? Do you need to write causes and effects, advantages, disadvantages, pros and cons, listings? Is it a two-part task or is it a two-part question, and so on and so forth? Now, after that, you need to plan your answers. Okay, when you plan, you create an outline. Okay, and in an outline, you have to write. You have to list down the things or the main ideas and the details and examples that you want to write in your essay. And then from the outline, you need to write an essay and then follow your outline strictly. Okay, which means to say that you will not change any information anymore, okay, because you only have you have very limited time in IELTS, 40 minutes only, and you have to write 250 words at least. So again, if you gear away from your plan, it's going to be difficult for you. You might not be able to finish the 250 words. Worse, you will be penalized for it. So stick to your plan. Okay, and after that, you need to write your paraphrase. And the paraphrase is the first sentence you write in your introduction. Now, paraphrases are followed by thesis statements, always. Okay? And you have to understand what thesis statements are. So, this is the purpose of this lesson. So, as you see here, I noted this is applicable to all types of essays. So, what is a thesis statement? Larry, can you read it for me, please?
It focuses your ideas into one or two sentences. Two, it presents the topic of your paper. Three, it makes a comment about your position in relation to the topic. Four, it tells your reader what the paper is about. Five, it helps guide your writing and keep your argument focused.
Okay, so the main purpose, it's like writing a research paper or a thesis. Okay, in grad school, we do that. Also take note of one or two sentences, depending on the question. But most of the time, you can write the thesis only in one sentence. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the first type is agree, disagree, and this is an example. Can you read the staff, please?
Extreme sports such as skype driving and skiing are very dangerous and should be banned. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this view?
All right, and as you can see, here is a sample introduction. It has two parts, the paraphrase and the thesis. Okay, paraphrase, please read.
In recent years, extreme sports have become increasingly popular, and some people argued that government should prohibit them.
Okay.
Thesis
Oh,
statement: I completely agree with the idea that cause that these sports are too dangerous, and I therefore believe that they should not be banned.
okay. So as you notice, some of the important parts of the task are paraphrased. For example, extreme sports is not paraphrased in itself, but the whole sentence is paraphrased. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Skydiving and skiing are, of course, examples of extreme sports, so it's not mentioned here anymore. Very dangerous. Where is that? Well, very dangerous. Okay. We all know that extreme sports are dangerous, so no need to repeat. All right. And then the second part of the paraphrase says some people argue that governments should prohibit them. These are the two sides, right? Do you agree or do you disagree? Okay. And then thesis. This, I completely agree that is your position. So I highlighted your position. You have to either choose agree or disagree. You cannot be in between. Okay, so always mention the words agree, disagree. I totally disagree. I partially disagree, and so on. And what do you agree with or what do you disagree with? So with the idea that sports are too dangerous. So this too dangerous here is mentioned in the task. Very dangerous. Right? And therefore, I believe this is your opinion that they should not be banned. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, next. So it's the same introduction, but I just highlighted a few things like these sports that is skydiving and skiing or extreme sports in general, right? Too dangerous, very dangerous, should be banned, should not, should be banned. So I underline the things that you have to repeat in your thesis statement. So you do the same, okay, during your practice.
Okay.
All right, let's take a look at another example. Discussion. So two opposing views. Please read the task.
Many governments think that economic progress is their most important goal. Some people, however, think that the other types of progress are equally important for the country. Discuss both views and give your own opinion.
And the introduction, please.
People have different views about how governments should measure their country's progress. The thesis statement, right? Quite economic progress is one of the core's essentials. I agree with these two, with those who believe that other measures of progress are just as important.
Okay, let's take a look at the paraphrase. Where is many governments? Okay, that is actually people, countries. Okay, governance is here. Okay, economic progress is in the thesis statement. Okay, equally important is actually this is an important for countries is here. Okay, progress is here. All right, and you have to say which statement do you side with. Okay, and the writer sides or he says, I agree with those who believe that other measures of progress are just as important. So, in other words, economic progress is not the only, um, when we're talking about economic progress, or, okay, sorry, economic progress is not the only important thing for a government or for a country. Uh, the writer or the candidate says that what? It's not only economic, but all of the other measures of progress are equally important. So you have to plan from this thesis statement what are other measures of progress. So aside from economic progress, can you think of other measures of progress?
Yeah, maybe academic progress.
Academic is one. So you can say education, progress in education, educational progress. What else? How about in the
uh,
public sector?
Communication progress, like telecommunication
Communication. What else?
and probably like the health progress.
Health progress. Very good. So think generally, right? So always when you think of a country, you think about factors like or sectors like health, political. What else did you mention? Education. Think of arts. Think of industrialization. Okay, in terms of infrastructure. Okay, social, how about social, and so on and so forth. You're correct, communication is also part of it because if you think about it, there are still many countries who are not, technologically advanced when it comes to communication. In fact, there are still many countries who do not have access to the internet, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So think about those things. So very good. Okay. So on the next slide, I highlighted other types of progress are equally important, and that is in the thesis. Other measures of progress are just as important. Okay, so take note of the paraphrases. Next, let's go to another type. This is actually explain some of the difficulties, that's problem, and how can governments make make urban life better. That's actually solution. All right, but it's also what we can call a two-part question. So in other words, they can questions in IELTS nowadays uh, uh, can fall under two or more categories actually. So this is problem solution, and at the same time, it's a two-part question. So can you read the question task, please?
Okay. More and more people are migrating to cities in search of better life, but city life can extremely sorry. More and more people are migrating to cities in search of a better life, but city life can be extremely difficult. Explain some of the difficulties of living in a city. How can government make urban life better for everyone?
All right. So you need to answer this part here. Explain. You also need to answer the second question. How can governments make urban life better for everyone? Please read the paragraph in the introduction.
Cities are often seen as places of opportunity, but there are also some major drawbacks of living in a large metropolis. In my opinion, government should do much more to improve city life for the average inhabitants.
Okay. So as you notice here, I mentioned, I noted that the thesis statement answers both questions here. Okay. In my opinion, governments could do much more. All right. Although in a general sense, to improve city life, the reason is here. Okay. So you always need to go back to the topic because you cannot not mention this part here to improve city life. Okay. You have to be clear. What are you talking about? All right. And remember, the thesis statement gives focus to your essay. Okay. And take note of the paraphrases like cities, metropolis. Okay, that is also in the task cities. Okay. Governments is there. Urban life. Okay, to improve, make life better. Okay, make urban life better. In particular, we're not talking about life in general. We're talking about life in the cities, urban life. Okay, and drawbacks of living in a large metropolis, those are difficulties, okay, of living in a city. So you need to make sure that all parts of the question are covered. Okay, here is more. All right, I highlighted. So I highlighted some of the important parts. Now, if you want to get a better band score, especially for your introduction, I would recommend that you list down what are these difficulties you are talking about. There are actually many difficulties in city life. If you Google, I tried Googling myself, okay? And I narrowed down to only three. So fiscal difficulties would talk about economics, okay, the economy of a city, crowding, if you compare city, urban versus rural, city versus province, crowding is a big problem. Is Ghana a city?
No, Ghana.
Mm.
Yeah, part of Ghana is a city. Part of the capital town of Ghana is a city.
So is crowding a problem in Ghana?
Yeah, of course.
It is. So you're
Yes.
so in other words,
Especially
so in other words, at this point in life, Ghana is starting to become crowded itself. Is that correct?
is correct.
Okay. Okay. How about traffic and pollution? So these are actually common difficulties in a country, right? And notice I highlighted main problems in the city. So when you write your introduction, I want you to copy some of the words in my examples, like main problems, okay, in my opinion, and so on. Okay, and take note, opinion is here. In my opinion, governments could do much more to improve city life for the average inhabitant. We are not talking about the rich ones, because usually the rich, they don't have the same problems as the average citizens, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on, please. Okay. So a better thesis lists the difficulties of city living. Okay, so when you see in the question, explain some of the difficulties, apply the magic three. Magic three means that you give me three difficulties like fiscal, crowding, traffic, and pollution. I consider traffic and pollution as one in this particular example. So one, two, three. And then how? Okay, that you will describe this later on. Could do much more. So can you tell me at this point, how can governments make urban life better? So an approach to this would be for you to talk about the individual difficulties. What is the solution for fiscal difficulties? What is the solution for crowding? What is the solution for traffic and pollution? Okay, can we discuss your answer here? What can you give me one solution for fiscal difficulty or one general solution?
Physical difficulties.
What's that?
I've not heard you. You said physical difficulties, right?
Sorry?
Did you say physical? You said physical difficulties. Am I correct?
Fiscal difficulties. What what do you think is how can government make life a better, okay, by addressing fiscal difficulties? Can you give a solution for this?
Well, the government physical difficulties, if I may ask, it's like you having um, problems with either
Economy.
mobility or
Related to the economy.
okay related to the economy.
Mhm.
Um, mm, well, it could be well, it
So in the
could
actual
be
test, you
people
need to
not
you need to
having
think
work to do
fast.
in the city.
Again, please.
like physical difficulties related to the economy could be like people not having work to do in the city. As a
Mm-hmm.
result, they end up being poor and then handicapped, which gives them the inability to live, like would give them the poor city life living, or which makes them see city to be a place of uh, hardship for them.
Okay, well, if you're having some problems coming up with the solution for this fiscal difficulties, simply say the government can improve fiscal policies. Can you please take note of that?
Okay.
Okay. So again, say one way to one thing that the government can do is to improve fiscal policies. And when we're talking about fiscal policies, we're talking about improving taxes, improving economic policies. But if this is something that's difficult for you to discuss, maybe choose another difficulty. Do not discuss fiscal policies if this is difficult for you. But you know, when you discuss this in your essay, you're going to give your examiner an idea that oh, this candidate can discuss fiscal policy. So that's a good thing, right? Okay, so again, say improve fiscal policies by improving taxes or rules and regulations regarding taxes or policies regarding taxes. How about crowding? How can the government uh, improve this?
Well, crowding. The government can help improve crowding by providing the state um, housing. For instance, the government can build a estate and rent it
Mm-hmm.
out to individuals
Okay.
on a minimum um, payment terms.
All right. How about traffic and pollution?
Traffic. The government can provide other means of transport, such as the train system transport, or maybe uh, flights that can help decongest the traffic system in a city. Or perhaps,
Okay. Very good.
or perhaps the government can also, I mean, use different, like, can also construct other systems, like the government decide to construct other routes of transport instead of using the main
Okay.
yes.
So in the actual test, I want you to do the same. You have to approach each one and provide a solution for each of the problem you mentioned. That's how you do it. All right? And then
Okay.
wrap up your answer. Okay, something like these are the ways in which the government can improve living in the city for everyone. Okay?
Okay.
All right, next. Essay type 4, two-part question. Okay, so obviously there are two questions. Please read the task.
Please, is it type three, the solutions and the problem? Well, this one is it?
Actually, well, this is similar to a two-part question, to type 3. Okay, I don't want you to be confused. It's just that type 3, okay, this is specific to problems and solutions. That is why I didn't place names here. Okay, and at the same time, it's also a two-part question. Okay, but other two-part questions are not specific to problem and solution. So, what is the approach to this? You simply need to answer both parts in your thesis. However, for type 4,